Hello friends and welcome to the Grave Detective channel. Today I'm standing at the communal cemetery of the city of Blankenberge on the Belgian coast. The grave we are visiting today is the grave of Lieutenant Commander George Bradford. George Nicholson Bradford was born on the 23rd of April 1887 in Witton Park in the north of England. He is the son of George Bradford's father, manager of a colliery, and Marion Andrews. George has three brothers, Thomas Andrews, James Barker, and Roland Boyce. In 1894, the family moved and settled in Darlington, still in the north of England. On the 15th of January 1904, George joined the Royal Navy as a cadet at the Royal Naval College in Dartmouth. He then joined the HMS Exmouth, a training ship, as a midshipman. At the Navy, George indulged in his favorite sport, boxing, and participated in boxing competitions or performances. On one of these occasions, George even had the opportunity to fight against another amateur boxing officer, Admiral Sir Robert Arbuthnot. In 1909, George was a second lieutenant aboard the destroyer HMS Doon. On the night of the 2nd to the 3rd of March 1909, HMS Doon was tasked with escorting the royal yacht Alexandra that was to transport King George V from Dover to Calais. Bradford's ship was on her way to Dover to prepare for this escort when an accident occurred. At 3:20 a.m., HMS Doon collided with the trawler Alcyon. In this incident, George Bradford rescued a young boy who was on board the sinking trawler. For this courageous act, George Bradford was promoted to the rank of lieutenant. On the 27th of January 1914, George was transferred to HMS Orion, a dreadnought battleship launched in 1910. Then the war broke out. 3 years later, on the 30th of July 1917, George became lieutenant commander on the Orion. On the 1st of March 1918, George was then assigned to another ship, HMS Hindustan. At the same time, he volunteered for a special mission, an ambitious raid on a Belgian port occupied by the Germans. In 1918, the Germans had a submarine base in the city of Brugge in Belgium. A canal allowed these submarines to reach the North Sea through the ports of Zeebrugge. The Royal Navy's plan was simple: to block this port by sinking 3 ships, the Thetis, the Iphigenia, and the Intrepid, at the exit of the canal used by the submarines. The exit of the canal being in the center of the port of Zeebrugge, a diversion attack must take place on the seawall or mole of Zeebrugge. This attack on the mole must take place in 2 stages. First, a British submarine must be destroyed under the mole in order to isolate the German troops defending it. Then, 3 British ships, the Iris II, the Daffodil, and the HMS Vindictive, must position themselves next to the mole, where raiding troops equipped with ladders must then attack. The whole operation should be carried out under the protection of a smoke screen. The first attempt took place at the beginning of April, but had to be postponed for weather reasons. Finally, the attack took place on the 23rd of April 1918, on St. George's Day, the patron saint of England, and on George Bradford's 31st birthday. At dawn, on the 23rd of April 1918, the British ships were sailing to Zeebrugge, but once close to their objective, things did not go as planned. Indeed, the wind turned and the smokescreen no longer protected the British. The Vindictive was spotted and must position herself in an unexpected location on the mole. The old British submarine was scuttled and exploded as planned, isolating the mole from the rest of the port. The Thetis, the Intrepid, and the Iphigenia entered the port, but found themselves under fire from German guns because of the failed diversion attack on the mole. As a result, the Thetis had to be scuttled prematurely, and only the Intrepid and the Iphigenia scuttled at the entrance of the canal, but not in the right position. During this attack, George Bradford was on board the Iris II, where he took part in the attack on the mole. The sea near the mole was rough, and the ladders were sometimes too short. But Jarvis too was equipped with derricks. George Bradford had thus an idea. He climbed to the top of one of these derricks with a parapet anchor. From there, he jumped onto the parapet of the mole, but was then hit and fell into the water. Petty Officer Michael Hallian witnessed the scene and jumped into the water to save George. In vain. Michael Hallian lost his life during this attempt. In the end, the raid on Zeebrugge was a failure for the British. With a bit of work, the Germans were able to reuse the canal and the port in the days that followed. This did not prevent the Royal Navy from organizing a second raid, this time against the port of Ostend, on the 9th of May 1918. On this occasion, the HMS Vindictive was scuttled at the entrance of the port. Today, in Ostend, her bow erected as a monument recalls the raids of Zeebrugge and Ostend. A few days after the raid on Zeebrugge, the sea washed up the body of George Bradford on the beach at Blankenberge. The Germans buried him with military honors in the town cemetery. For his heroic action at Zeebrugge, George Bradford was posthumously awarded the highest British decoration, the Victoria Cross. His medal was presented to his mother on the 3rd of April 1919 by King George V. Roland Boyce Bradford, one of George's brothers, had also obtained this decoration in 1916. The brothers Roland Boyce and George Bradford are the only brothers to have both obtained the Victoria Cross during the First World War. With 8 Victoria Crosses for 1 hour fighting, the raid on Zeebrugge is proportionally the event of the First World War where the most Victoria Crosses were earned. George Bradford is the only holder of one of these Victoria Crosses to be buried in Belgium. Friends, thanks for watching this video. I hope you found it interesting, and I hope to see you soon for another video. Bye!